Hey guys, want to let you know we're having the biggest Screw Attack game sale we've ever done, with discounts up to 80% off. That means you could get a game for as cheap as $2. Just click the link in the description below and check it out. Merchandising. It's one of the great things about Star Wars. You know what's better than merchandising though? Star Wars creatures. Star Wars creatures have so much variety in this expansive universe. So much so, we're gonna give you the 10 best. So, hey, I'm Nervous Nick for Screw Attack's Top 10 Star Wars creatures.
Number 10.
What's worse than being trapped in a giant trash compactor? Being trapped in a giant trash compactor that also happens to be the home of a DIANOGA. A carnivorous squid with a single eye stalk, this cephalopod is a maw of teeth and tentacles. These creatures love organic matter in all its forms, so they're often scavenging a planet's sewage system or sneaking aboard a trash receptacle of a starship. That's how they migrated off their homeworld of Vodran. And thanks to them being hermaphrodites, they can quickly reproduce themselves, which makes them basically the most terrifying pest imaginable. A deadly, self-replicating toilet monster that can grow to a height of 10 meters. But wait a minute, it's also a delicious toilet monster. Apparently these things can be made into delicious pies, so there's some kind of silver lining, I guess.
Number 9.
Remember in episode 5 when the Millennium Falcon decided to hide out in a cave on an asteroid? Only, as we all know, it's not a cave, it's a giant space slug. This massive silicon-based space rock-dwelling worm is actually called an exogorth, but I'm just gonna keep calling it a space slug. Anyway, don't think that these things are immobile, because whenever they want, they just pop out and ride solar winds to their next home. In fact, some aristocrats in the expanded universe actually realized this, so they slapped on some hyperdrive engines and tried to sell them as weapons on the black market. The slugs could then travel to any system the buyer wanted and wreak havoc on the local population. That is some like Wile E. Coyote Looney Tunes crap going on right there. Should the space slug make it to another asteroid, they're pretty tough to kill, except for their natural predator, the enormous Colossus wasp. And that's why the Colossus wasp is number 9.
Number 8.
This next creature is one of a kind. No one's really sure where it came from, but the GOROG bears menacing tusks, is powered by 2 hearts, and is large enough to hold a single RANCOR in its hand. FYI, it also eats that RANCOR because RANCORs are its favorite snacks. And that should give you a good idea of just how hardcore this guy is. The GOROG was found in the custody of Baron Marillion Tarko during the events of Force Unleashed 2. Vader's one-time secret apprentice Starkiller went to Cato Neimoidia to save a general and wound up in an arena where the Baron unleashed the GOROG. But before attacking Starkiller, the GOROG just eats its master, as it does. It's huge, dangerous, and has a problem with authority. Of course, Starkiller eventually won the fight by dropping the GOROG into a canyon, but what finally brought this behemoth down was Boba Fett blasting the creature in the chest with a rocket and jetpacking through its last heart. That's awesome!
Number 7.
Colloquially called the Pretty Kitty, a NEXU is a vicious cat-like beast. Difficult to tame and too vicious for captivity in something like a zoo, this is one cat you don't want to mess with. Its razor-sharp claws can slice a human in half, and its split tail makes the creature extremely agile. On their home planet, this helps them swing from tree to tree, but otherwise it's just something else that makes them look a little bit creepier. Not that all those teeth weren't already making that happen, but that Cheshire Cat smile combined with their deadly attributes makes the NEXU perfect for arena combat and chaotic assassination attempts. Like that one time it was used against Queen Padme Amidala in episode 2, and then 75 years later her great-granddaughter would even take one as a pet, which completely goes against everything I just said, but whatever, I want one.
Number 6.
The Force. An energy field that binds all living things. If mastered, you can predict the future, rip spaceships apart, and conquer entire planets. Unless you come across a guy carrying a little lizard called an Islamir. These small, fuzzy lizards are able to nullify the power of the Force around them. They don't quite remove the Force entirely from nature. Instead, they create a sphere of influence around themselves that make it impossible for Force wielders to use their powers. Sounds like a pretty handy creature to have, right? Well, Grand Admiral Thrawn thought so too and made them standard issue for himself and some of his crew. I'm serious, they kept them in these things called nutrient harnesses wherever they went, but most people just call those backpacks.
Number 5.
Giant, menacing holes lined with teeth. Yep, the Sarlaccs are pretty much where things go to die. You can think of Sarlaccs kind of like icebergs, where 95% of their bodies exist below the surface, waiting for their next victim to either stumble in or get close enough to be snared by its tentacles. Should you be that unfortunate, prepare for a world of hurt. First, you'll be injected with a paralyzing neurotoxin, then you'll be slowly digested over the course of the next millennia. Sorry, Boba Fett, that is a terrible way to go. But not all Sarlaccs lie in wait. Some females have been known to migrate by burrowing just below the surface. The females are also significantly larger than the males, which can lead to some interesting sexual encounters. And by that I mean the male feeds off the female over 1,000 years until it's large enough to blast out a bunch of baby Sarlacc spores. But hey, with lifespans of 30,000 to 50,000 years, at least you had a good run. The only reason the Sarlacc isn't higher on the list is because of that stupid CG beak they gave it in the re-release. Just look at that.
Number 4.
If you had to fight a Jedi or a Sith, what would you bring to that fight? If you said an Islamir, then congrats, you've been paying attention, but do also consider a poisonous snake whip. The AMPHISTAFF isn't just a creature, it's a weapon. Wielded by the Yuuzhan Vong in their invasion of both the Republic and the Empire, an AMPHISTAFF snake can transform into a quarterstaff, a whip, or even a spear. Each AMPHISTAFF bonds with its wielder like a loyal pet and can be commanded with simple hand motions. It spits a venomous poison which clogs its victim's blood, leaving them in excruciating pain for 20 straight hours until death. And best of all, it is immune to lightsabers! Just imagine if Star Wars Kid was swinging around a giant snake instead of that pole. Yeah, it'd be a lot more awesome. Ancient memes.
Number 3.
Tall buildings? Check. Giant monster? Check. Giant monster rampaging through said tall buildings? Extra check. Yep, the ZILLO beast is literally the Godzilla of Star Wars. In ancient times, these enormous creatures ruled the planet of Malastare. You know, the same planet inhabited by Dugs like Sebulba. Basically, just imagine this thing eating hundreds of Sebulbas all day. That's the life of the ZILLO beast. But there weren't that many of them, so the Dugs started to hunt the ZILLO beasts. This proved to be incredibly difficult since these creatures have scaly plates so tough that not even lightsabers can scratch them. Eventually, the Dugs had to resort to biological warfare to wipe them out. But even when anyone in the galaxy thought the ZILLO beasts were gone for good, this funky-looking monster proved them all wrong. Not even extinction can keep the ZILLO beast down.
Number 2.
To this day, the galactic scientific community still debates the sentience of the Kowakian monkey lizard. You may remember seeing one in Return of the Jedi, Salacious Crumb, the shrill laughing servant of Jabba the Hutt. Like many Kowakians, the jester survived by trolling visitors and becoming one of the most disliked members of the court. In the wild, though, these reptiles move as a pack under the leadership of the eldest female. Kowakians have a mischievous sense of humor and use their loud laughter to ward off predators when scavenging a fresh corpse. And even though they're not exactly the strongest fighters, they're not quite helpless either. They swarm larger creatures and attack with their claws and beaks. There's even evidence of one such monkey lizard named Picaroon Boodle, who was mutated by the Dark Jedi Jarek and was capable of wielding the Force. Yes, you heard me correctly. One of these things basically became a Sith Lord. Can you imagine one of these things flying around, like shooting lightning out of its fingers while laughing like a maniac?
It's number 1.
Jabba the Hutt is one of the most feared gangsters in all the galaxy. But when you're in his palace, it's not so much Jabba himself that you should be the most afraid of. It's the Rancor that resides beneath his throne. Anybody who annoys Jabba will be dropped into the Rancor's pit and will get devoured by his terrifying pet. But there's a lot more to this creature than just a toothy, beady-eyed killing machine. While many Rancors have ended up off-world through a variety of mishaps, the ones on their homeworld are a bit different. These Rancors are stronger and smarter. They care for their children, mourn their dead, like that pudgy guy at Jabba's, and a select few have even been able to read. This intelligence led to a partnership with some Force-sensitive humans called the Witches of Dathomir, who used the Rancors as mounts. Heck, the Rancors even know how to use simple weapons. Oh, because, you know, that's what these creatures really needed. Intelligence, witches on their backs, and giant blades. The Rancors are like horses, dogs, and sharks all rolled into one huge and terrifying package. And in Star Wars, creatures don't get any better than that.
You know, I tried to go around the office and find all the Star Wars crap we had, but I'm holding all of it, like literally all of it. Anyway, thank you for watching Top 10 Star Wars Creatures. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. We do Top 10s every single week. And if you want to check out other Top 10s, you've got this whole playlist right here. Go knock yourself out. Have a good old time. See you next time.